Hi there, welcome to the Film Fan Club show. I'm Sam Carrico. I know I keep saying this, but we got a great show today, guys. Kris Rose will join us in a second to talk about MaXXXine, but don't worry, our MCU drought has nearly ended. Oh yes, just ahead of Deadpool and Wolverine next week, Marvel released the trailer for the next Captain America movie. It features Sam Wilson as Captain America protecting the President of the United States after an assassination attempt. Wow, that timing isn't great. I'm sure it can only get better though. Let's keep going. The movie is titled Captain America: Brave New World after previously being titled New World Order. Okay, well, glad they changed it because that would have pissed a lot of people off. Anyway, in the film, Captain America teams up with Sabra, an Israeli spy who is known for fighting various Palestinian and Muslim stereotypes in the Marvel comics. Okay, maybe they are trying to piss people off. Okay. In local news, I attended the Circle Cinema Film Festival over the weekend. Yes, I went to a screening of Manny Marquez's Make Peace or Die. It was a fantastic documentary. There was not a dry eye in the auditorium. Of course, we talked to Manny last week on the show, but at the Q&A after the screening, Manny announced that the doc will air on PBS here in the States on Veterans Day 2024. So congratulations to Manny. But a real full circle moment came when I was reunited with my Killers of the Flower Moon co-star, Lily Gladstone, at the screening of her documentary, Bring Them Home. She took part in a panel discussion where she shouted out our mutual friend, Leonardo DiCaprio. Lily was actually kind enough to sign an autograph for me before the screening. The local news even took our picture together for Sunday's paper. Although our story was overshadowed by something else. And finally, with MaXXXine on its way out of theaters and more Marvel crap on its way to theaters, I'd like to pause and reflect on what has been. When the X trilogy started, I didn't know what to expect. Hell, I didn't even know who Mia Goth was. I was just excited to see Jenna Ortega in another horror film. But once I saw it and was blown away, I was shocked and excited that a prequel was coming out later that same year. And after that, after Pearl, I couldn't wait for MaXXXine. They were good films, yes, but they were also original films, filmmaker-focused films. They proved their worth, earned their sequels, and most importantly, watching them didn't feel like homework. Compare that to Marvel. I'll admit, I am excited for Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's an anomaly. When I see trailers for Captain America 4, or heaven forbid, Agatha All Along, I can't help but roll my eyes and ask, are we still doing this? I mean, Agatha is a character from a middling streaming service that I haven't thought about since it aired in 2021. Hell, I'm less invested in this than I am in soccer. Okay, not really, I hate soccer. Maybe it's just me though, but I feel like we've all grown since then too. When I look at the movies I've been wanting to see recently, it's Kinds of Kindness, it's Firebrand, it's I Saw the TV Glow. Movies that take risks, movies that challenge me, movies that are good. So as we brace for the return of superheroes and languish the loss of MaXXXine, Kinds of Kindness, I just want to emphasize that it doesn't have to be this way. And if Marvel doesn't improve their quality soon, it won't be this way for long. All right, we've got a great show for you lined up. Let's get right to our discussion of MaXXXine. And joining me now, she is the author of The Final Girl, How Horror Movies Made Me a Better Feminist, which is being expanded into a full book, I'm being told. Kris Rose is back on the show. Welcome, Kris.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to see you again. Obviously, you were on the show in 2021. We talked about Midnight Mass. It's been a while. A lot of this whole franchise that we're about to talk about has flourished since then. But we got to acknowledge, of course, we're talking about the X franchise, MaXXXine specifically today, and you're coming to us from just outside of Los Angeles, California. So it couldn't be more perfect.
Los Angeles. I'm right in the heart of East. Well, not East, but Eastern Los Angeles. I'm in Frogtown near Silver Lake, so not too far away from Hollywood, which features heavily in the story of MaXXXine.
So we couldn't have asked for a better guest, honestly, for this week. I appreciate you making the time and you coming back. I want to ask, I guess, about the first two installments in the X franchise. Of course, we had you on in 2021. X kicked off in March 2022, and then Pearl in, I believe, September of 2022. 2023, we took a break, and then of course we were so anticipating MaXXXine, or at least I was. But I want to ask you about your experience with the first two movies. Were you did they come out of nowhere for you like they did for me? Did you like them?
No,
Were you
no,
excited
no.
for MaXXXine?
I'm a big Ty West fan. So I was anticipating X, really loved the premise, felt like it had some really good, Texas Chainsaw vibes going. So I was hyped. I went first day that I could. I went and saw it, and I loved it. I loved it. I was sold from the first moment on screen until the end. I love Mia Goth too. I've loved her since Nymphomaniac Part 2. She's just amazing and captivating, and I could watch her for days. And she really has I saw her in Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool has come out too since
Yeah.
you and I have talked, and her performance in that is just, and she's an incredible actress. I'm glad that the horror genre has her and appreciates her and is celebrating her.
She's like, talk about the final girl. She is like a new like Hollywood final girl in a way.
And also kind of a throwback to the original Final Girls, MaXXXine, and we can get into this further, has a very different specific style that I believe is an homage to a genre of movie that is specific. It's like a sub-genre of the horror genre, which is, the Italian giallo, whatever, however you say it. I've heard it both ways. And so it's very much a tribute to Italian horror, and down to the black gloves and the red blood, and even the way that it's sort of plotless in a way, but not in a bad way. You don't care because you're so thrilled with what's going on screen that you kind of don't care if everything doesn't exactly make sense. The way that, Dario Argento, Deep Red, and movies like that. So I think X, the whole trilogy is like a love letter to horror and the different aspects and genres. So X really brings us that Texas Chainsaw vibe. Pearl is something kind of all on its own. It's a little bit hagsploitation, but the hag is young and beautiful, but has the heart of a hag, which I think is a beautiful thing. I'm pro hag myself. So I think, and then with the MaXXXine and with the Italian horror, I think, Ty West is such a student of horror that this trilogy just encompasses, just all of it in a way.
That's a great. I'm so glad you said that coming out the gate, because it kind of recontextualizes how much I appreciate this franchise. Because at first, I'll be honest, I can be a little bit of a contrarian sometimes. I like to pick apart things, and I was kind of like, I don't know if MaXXXine was as good as Pearl and X. Part of that is the nostalgia, of course, now for 2022. Those, I remember seeing those movies and I liked my experience. This is a new experience. I don't know how to feel experience. But I think what you're highlighting is each one of these movies is uniquely a different experience. And
absolutely,
that's what West is trying to do. And it makes so much sense that he would fall in love with this character, this actress, his new artistic muse, Mia Goth, and find this way to explore these different types of horror through this.
Absolutely. It's like he's taking us through a horror history course, but through this vessel, this muse. And so really the commonality that we have is the MaXXXine, the Mia Goth, the Pearl character. I actually got kind of called out for my opinion on X by a younger girl. She was in her 20s. I'm in my 40s. So we were discussing the fact that Mia Goth, and I don't think we're giving anything away, and Pearl and in X plays or an ex wears a special effects bodysuit to play the older character of Pearl. And so we had a little bit of an argument about, you know, is it exploitative of older women and their bodies and da da da. And, you know, she's like all in a huff on behalf of older women as a 20-year-old. And I'm like, thank you very much, darling. That's adorable. But as a middle-aged woman,
that's so funny.
please sit the fuck down. You know, I think that there is something to be said about the horror of being a woman who is no longer deemed sexually attractive but still has sexual attraction and is a sexual being, and how older women are perceived as monstrous, like older women with sexual desire. You can be an older woman and be a neutered grandma that sits and knits and like makes cookies and shit. But if you're a horny grandma, you know, oh my God, that's horrifying. You know, oh, that's disgusting. But yet we see decrepit old corpse men like Basic Instinct. You know, when I watched it for the first time, which is crazy, I know to say this, but I watched it for the first time in the last 5 years. And I looked at Sharon Stone in all her glory, laying into the arms of Michael Douglas. And I was like, oh, it's like when flowers grow out of a corpse. You know, it's like, why would they pair these two romantically? Like, what the fuck? And so we've just become so accustomed to allowing these corpsemen to like be like, oh, I'm sexual, even though I'm disgusted. You know, that's fine, right? But an older woman who's like past 40, who's like, I might like to have sex. They're like, yeah, bleh, bleh, you know, vomiting uncontrollably. So I don't think they could have hired an 80-year-old actress to do the part. I think that would have been exploitative. But I think Mia Goth exploring, like, I'm a young, beautiful woman with a beautiful body now, but someday I'm going to be old and have wrinkles and have an older body. And what's that going to be like? And am I going to be perceived as horrific? I think that could be I think every woman should get to dress up in an old lady suit and chase men around and try and fuck them and see what that feels like. I don't know. It could be cathartic. It could be healing. Just a suggestion.
And again, I had no idea that it was Mia Goth the first time I watched X. That's how much she just kind of became that role of Pearl as the older version of Pearl in X. And then whenever I went and found out, and then I've rewatched it, I own X. Like, it's a great movie. I watch it, you know, it's a very rewatchable film.
But does it hit you differently knowing?
Yes, of course. And it makes so much sense. But now in my original kind of thought process was like, I don't know if Ty West is really if he's interrogating this idea as much as just raising it. But I think what you're kind of getting at is that's almost a little bit more intentional. He raises it and forces us, the audience, to confront it. Why we feel revolted by certain things versus other things. And
why is that revolting? Yeah. Why is it so revolting to us? This older woman's sexuality. Why is that so threatening? And of course, Pearl is like, she's crazy and it's super heightened and she, you know, melodramatic. But you know, he brought them there to make a porn, and porn is nothing if not the exploitation of young women's beauty. And there's an age, like, you time out of it at a certain age, and like you do everything you can to extend that time limit. And you know, and the lady, you know, the character who just decides, well, I think I'll try porn because it's, you know, she can, because she's a young, attractive woman, and that's pretty much all it takes, you know, like, I'm gonna see what it's like to market my sexuality and to trade on my youth and make money from it. And I think, you know, because there are so many opportunities for young women to do that, a lot of us are like, why not? Why not see what the hype is about? Maybe it's okay. And some of us are like, I don't really like the way that feels. And some are like, this is okay with me. I can handle this, you know?
Right.
So I think all three films explore, you know, agency, female agency and sexuality. Like MaXXXine has no shame about her pornographic past. It's just a thing she did to get where she needed to go. She's very pragmatic about it. She's gonna be a star. She knows it. And that's just a step on the way. And it was for a lot of famous actresses, you know? I mean, a lot of famous actresses. And I don't think, you know, for some of them, I don't think it is that big of a deal.
Well, it's just
that's all right too.
Yeah, it's kind of talking about how, and also through Pearl versus MaXXXine, the two Mia Goth characters. It's kind of you know, examining the way society has kind of held women back in some ways sexually in Pearl's case versus and how that's evolved and then MaXXXine's case. But as what I'm realizing though a little bit is kind of going back to my contrarian take is MaXXXine not as rich of a film as X and Pearl, and I don't, and again, I'm not sure where I'm landing
outside
on this.
of the context of the trilogy,
right?
Like as a standalone movie, is it as strong as the other?
Yeah, and the reason I asked that is just because we've spent so much time talking about how rich X is and how Pearl, the movie, ties into that as well, and all these themes are so rich. What is there along those lines, which may be a big question, what larger themes are you taking away from the movie MaXXXine, other than it's kind of a, you talked about earlier, it's kind of an homage to Italian slasher movies.
Yeah.
But what larger themes, I guess, when we're talking about the role that women play in society and this sort of thing, what are you taking away from what MaXXXine, the third film, adds to that?
I think just having a female lead that is shameless and fearless. You know, like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, the character of Nancy.
Yeah.
She has no shame and no fear. The girl takes no one's advice. She does everything herself. She never doubts herself or questions herself. And at the end of the movie, she's like, fuck you, I'm taking back my power. You have no power over me. You know, and if the movie had been allowed to end right then and there, holy shit, right? What a great, powerful message. But things being what they are, they needed an ending that would line up with the kind of slasher horror movie 80s agenda sequel, making Agenda 2. Yeah. So I think, we haven't had such a fearless, MaXXXine never doubts herself. She never lets anybody put doubt into her head. She's just tunnel vision. She's just, I am gonna fucking get through this shit. And she doesn't have to do it all herself either. She's smart. She knows when she has an asset, when she has friends on her side that can help her. It takes strength to ask for help. It's not weak to say, I could use some help with this. Right. I'm a strong person. I got it handled, but I need a little extra help. I don't know. It's just, I just really liked the overall vibe of it. I really liked, of course, how it looked. It looked perfect, amazing. Yeah. It looked just like those movies, Angel and Hollywood Vice and all those kind of like Hollywood 80s sleaze, movies from the 80s. Or like a Basket Case on 42nd Street, in New York. There is like the sleazy Hollywood movies and the sleazy 42nd Street, movies. So, I mean, we can't really talk about it as a standalone because we didn't see it as a standalone. It's impossible. It's like Schrodinger's cat. We've opened the box. It's too fucking late. But I definitely like Texas Chainsaw 2. Like, who would have thought that could have been a standalone sequel, that you could watch without having seen the first? But I know plenty of people that saw Texas Chainsaw 2 way before they saw the first one, which is insane, but it's true. Yeah. So, you know, I think for some people, MaXXXine could be their standalone and their favorite, and they might not care for the other two. And I think for some, it'll be Pearl, and others X. X is probably the nearest and dearest to my heart, you know, just because it introduces MaXXXine. And, you know, although there are some sequels that I do like better, I do like Hellraiser 2 a little bit better.
The Exorcist 3, obviously.
I mean, I do love Exorcist 3. I mean, it's two grumpy old men, like, talking about, you know, and then just crazy violence. And Exorcist 3 actually weirdly has a more Italian horror feel to it as well, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. I think MaXXXine could very well be a person's favorite. It's not my favorite. X is my favorite.
Mine
but
too.
MaXXXine is probably my second favorite.
Really? Over Pearl?
Over Pearl, yeah, because I don't know. I really like MaXXXine. I really like her character.
I've only seen.
I love Pearl too, and I love Mia's performance in Pearl, and I think her performance in it is going to be more. I think it's only going to build with time, like people's appreciation of how nuanced it is and what a great actor she is. But I don't know. I love the 70s and 80s. I love that time period for film. That's my sweet spot.
Yeah.
So those they check all the boxes, you know, everything I want.
I'm so torn. I've only seen Pearl and MaXXXine once each now. I never, for some reason, made it back to see Pearl after I saw it in the theater. So I need to go.
Because it's intense. It is
very. You're watching this woman fall apart like that. I remember thinking, like, God, just the ending whenever she's smiling to the camera over the entire credits. I was just like, this is an insane movie. So it's not as rewatchable. I need to go back and watch Pearl, and then close to that, after that, watch MaXXXine to really kind of hone in my opinion on what would be my second favorite. But right now, it's so clearly X is my favorite.
I might be a little bit biased too, because I do live on a farm and kill random passerbyers because my dreams in Hollywood didn't come true.
That's so funny.
So it hits a little too close to home, if you know what I mean.
I think I do.
I do have a very loyal husband who does everything I say too. So.
Oh God. Oh,
well,
my
not
gosh.
Everything. I exaggerate.
Everything, including
I can't
kill
say
people.
that. My God. Yeah, no, nothing. He does 10% of what I say. And
we've gone so far down.
But we're in Hollywood, right?
Hey, you know,
where magic happens, where he listens to me 100% of the time because we're on vacation and he's in a good mood. So
yes,
he listens to me 100% of the time right here in LA.
Yeah, when you're in, well, I want to say paradise, but then question mark. Well, okay.
Kind of paradise to me. I don't know. LA's been good to me so far. Knock on all the wood. Shit, where's the wood?
I have a couple of mixed bag things I want to get through.
Okay.
I want to do. I don't want to be too negative though. My compliment sandwich. I do think Ty West should direct a Scream movie. I think after watching MaXXXine, I think Ty West would be fantastic for a Scream movie.
He'd be fantastic at anything.
Yeah, I love the Scream franchise, so I would love to see that. Particularly, also Scream 7. I'm excited for, regardless. But the cast in this film, a little bit hit or miss. You get Mia Goth obviously doing a great job. I liked Elizabeth Debicki, and then but you get
yeah,
she did a great job. Halsey was a little bit of a question mark for me. I understand the appeal of getting her in there in a marketing stance, but
wait, who was she?
Which one was she? Like the best friend with the short hair that got spoilers. We're gonna go into spoilers a little bit now, I guess. Halfway through, she was killed. Halsey, her friend. She was a little bit of a mixed bag. Kevin Bacon, though, was my worst performance in the film. I thought I didn't know what Kevin Bacon's direction was.
Oh yeah, you know, I actually kind of love when he's disgusting.
Yeah,
I love a nasty, dirty Kevin Bacon. So for me, I was fine with it because I was like, yeah, you filthy Kevin Bacon. So, you know, I was all right. I was all right with it because I felt like he was going for that over the top, sleazy guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think he was really going, because he grew up with those exploitation movies, like, in real time. He was like, I mean, he was in Footloose in what, 1981?
Right.
And like Angel was made around that well, so he was like acting and in movies when these actual movies were being made. So maybe from his perspective, he's like, well, this is like how you know, fucking what's his name would have played it, and
Right.
this, you know. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. I thought I liked her manager a lot. I love him.
He was fantastic in the movie from
I
Breaking
can't
Bad.
remember the actor's name, but he was in Breaking Bad,
Yes.
obviously. And he was
so fun. Just the material they gave.
Is his last name Esposito?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, and they gave him a lot to work with. That was really good too. I think maybe on the Kevin Bacon, I think there's a lot of context surrounding horror movies and what this is kind of referencing that maybe I should have a larger, if I had a larger appreciation for, I'd be able to understand and appreciate the performance he's giving in that context. That segues a little bit into my last thing, and just for housekeeping, I have the free version of Zoom, so it's going to end for us in 7 minutes.
Yes.
So we'll kind of wrap up on this, but my big thing is, and we are in spoilers now, my big thing is the ending. Because as I was like, why is Kevin Bacon doing all of the dirty work for this serial killer? Why isn't the serial killer actually going and killing, you know, like a Scream, like a ghost face? It's because, again, spoilers, the villain is her like elderly father. And I appreciate, because that was so prevalent throughout X, and then that reveal that her father is the religious at the end of the movie. It makes sense as a trilogy. But again, for this one film, I kind of found it to be just what I thought would happen. I don't know. It seemed a little almost too on the nose.
See, but that is in line with like movies like that. Like, I mean, like I said, it's not really about the plot. Like, the plot is usually like, oh yeah, of course it's that person, you know? So it's not really about the destination. It's the journey getting to the dumb destination that you knew you were going to the whole time. But I think that's part of the love letter, you know, is like, if Ty had changed that aspect of it, it wouldn't, you know what I mean? I mean, it could have been okay. He could have modernized it but I don't think that's what he was trying to do here. I think he was trying to do, you know, an homage.
Right.
So you know, of course it's the dad, but it's also like, but if it wasn't the dad, you'd be like, but what about all the shit with the dad? So could we really be satisfied?
It's one of those things where I'm like, subverting expectations. I know I famously did not like The Last Jedi, the Star Wars movie, and everybody is like, it's because it subverted my expectations. And then maybe there's something to that, but in some cases with this movie, I do think a little bit of subversion of expectations would have been okay. I just had to make that clear for all the people watching that are saying he's a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. So I think we're kind of reaching a consensus that the X is our favorite. The entire trilogy is so good. We appreciate this movie for Mia Goth, Ty West's direction. A lot of elements of the cast work really well. I like
the wardrobe. Can we just give a shout out to whoever did the wardrobe, the costuming, her boot collection? Holy fucking shit. Like, everybody looks amazing. Whoever did the it deserves an award.
The boots come in handy. They're a utility as well as a defense mechanism.
That's right, because you can be a hot piece of ass and crush someone's balls with your stiletto heel. Spoiler.
Ooh, man, this movie was intense at times. It's a mixed bag for me. I enjoyed it. I liked going to the theater. It's worth seeing in the theater, I would say.
How did your audience respond to it that you saw it with?
They seem to enjoy it for an 11 a.m. on a Monday. I went.
Oh wow! I saw it at night I think we were in Burbank. We saw it in AMC in Burbank.
Oh, the AMC Burbank 16.
Or 23.
Damn it, I was so close.
I think, no, it might have been the 16th. Please don't. I have a terrible, I have an Etch-a-Sketch brain. You're probably right and I'm probably wrong. But I got to see it with a wonderful person and friend and director in his own right, Darren Stein. I hope he's okay with me saying that. But he took me to see MaXXXine, and seeing it with him was extra special because we are movie nerd buddies, and we loved it. And getting to appreciate it together and in LA was the ultimate experience.
Oh, I bet. It's like right place, right time, and you were at the perfect place for the perfect time.
I know. And thank you so much for asking me to do this, or I might have not mentioned it to him and he might have not asked me to go to an early screening of it. So thank you.
Oh, you know what? You're welcome. I'm glad I just make dreams come true. Kris, thank you. Kris Rose is the author of The Final Girl: How Horror Movies Made Me a Better Feminist. Keep an eye out.
Available through Microcosm Publishing and self-published. Mentally Unbalanced and Violent, the Haxploitation film, which you can only get from me right now. Although, hint, hint, Microcosm, you should distribute it for me. And then, yeah, keep a lookout for stuff.
If you want to send me any social media or website links after the fact, I'll be sure to include that in the description of this video so people can follow your work. I highly recommend it. Kris Rose, thank you so much for joining the show. It was a pleasure speaking with you. All right, that's our show. I'd like to thank Kris Rose for joining me this week. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. We got a lot of good content coming your way. Of course, we're going to be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. We're also talking about The Boys, The Acolyte. Lots of stuff to get to, and we're going to get to it. We're also on Apple and Spotify. You can follow us basically wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. I'm Sam Carrico. You can follow me on the various social media sites at Samuel D. Carrico. You can follow the Film Fan Club on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Film Fan Club. Again, I've been Sam Carrico. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.